Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's uLaw webinar. Today's webinar is going to talk about 3 to 4 major feature set within the uLaw product, starting with the dashboard to the contacts, Quickview, and some of the more recent features that we've added to the calendar feature set, if you will. Today's webinar is going to be a very informational webinar about the uLaw specific features, and it's not accredited for any CPD credits. So I reiterate that today's webinar is not accredited for any CPD credits, and I will make sure I put that on my chat window as well. But I really appreciate you to continue staying on this, especially if you're a current uLaw user, because we're going to talk about some of the important feature sets that we've included in actually the last few weeks that may be of use to you as you continue to use the product. Once again, I encourage you to kindly use the chat window at any given time to ask any questions that you may have, and mute your phone lines. Now, like every other uLaw webinar, today's webinar has a specific agenda. We're going to get into a deeper dive, as we call it, into the 4 major feature sets that surround and extend some of the core functionalities of the uLaw product. Now, the uLaw product at heart, and in essence, is a very legal accounting-centric practice management and business accounting software built right in. It's where you're going to create a lot of your files. This is the system that's going to be used as a system that also manages all of your office expenses, okay? But there are little practice management features that can help you save time, that can allow you to stay on top of important transactions that occur within your firm. And the dashboard, contacts, Quickview, and calendar most definitely surround and extend the core capability of the uLaw product, allowing you to be more efficient in its use, and of course being more efficient in how you manage your law firm's matters and information. Okay? So truly we're going to talk about how can you as a uLaw user further enhance these features and use them to enhance your experience of using the product and how it complements the overall experience. Okay? I think there's a quick question about the CPD, so I have shared with you that today's session is not accredited for any CPD credits. It's going to be a very informational demonstration where we walk you through the core features of these 4 important menu options within the uLaw product. Okay? Starting with the dashboard, the purpose of the dashboard, which is in many cases the landing page that you always log into, is a quick and easy way for you to set up important squares or widgets, as we call it, as easy and simple reminder systems for both you as well as for others in your firm, for top-of-the-mind information and reminding you of key things and tasks that you have to take in a particular period of time. Okay, whether that's the tasks that have to be done, upcoming to-dos as we call them, staying on top of any upcoming events, any opportunity for you to docket information, whether it's the invoice spending matter, which is one of the most utilized dashboard item, which truly talks to you about all the matters that you've docketed but haven't yet generated an invoice for. It truly allows you to have a good handle over both your accounts receivable as well as for those dockets that you need to generate an invoice for, so that you're more efficient and as well at the same time you're generating more revenue. And also important items such as recently modified contacts and recently modified matters allow you to navigate to these screens, especially if you're coming back from a vacation or a long weekend and you really cannot recollect who was that person that we just signed up for a couple of days earlier. So the recently modified contacts, as well as the matters, gives you the first-hand information about all of those individuals, clients, client files that you've been dealing with over the past few days. Now, using the settings, of course, within the uLaw, you can determine what this time period should be. Do you want all the events, from the time you started the product? Do you want this over the last week? Do you want this over the last few months? You can decide how recent or how elaborate you want this time period to be for the information that we show within the dashboard. Okay? And we're definitely going to have a demonstration of the capabilities. These are little things that can actually really help you build efficiencies around how you use your time and the product as well. Contacts is maybe one of the most utilized menu features within the product, because this is really your gateway to start to do an intake of your clients. Okay, this is where all our clients log into the system, whether it's themselves as a sole practitioner or if it's a legal firm that's being using it. The client intake expert in that firm use this feature set to intake any new clients that are either approaching them through phone conversation, whether that's approaching them through a walk-in or an online inquiry. This is really your window to create that client. But there are other equally important feature sets, including compliance-related reports, that actually can help you and stay organized. So you can create contacts, group them, so that it's easier for you to search for certain pieces of information. The contacts, of course, is where you're also going to do your conflict search, conflict checks. And a lot of this information that you store within this contact panel gets repurposed for you to do tasks, important tasks, such as searching for conflict checks, including additional parties, associating additional parties to fill out court forms, especially in the province of Ontario. And we also provide you important marketing reports, such as the source of contact report, that can, over a period of time, talk to you about where you're getting your leads from. So as and when you do your client intake, we do ask you for the source of contact piece of information, and then we summarize all of that over a period of time and give you that as a report, which can also be used as a marketing report. It also acts as a compliance report. Okay? So we're going to talk about important nuances to the contacts feature set that you can take advantage of. There is this feature called Quickview within the uLaw product. Now, this Quickview was built so that a firm can have comprehensive overview, if you will. I know it's an oxymoron. It's an overview, but it's also comprehensive. And the reason I mention comprehensive is because of the date range through which you can view all of the matters that you've created. It's also comprehensive because you can utilize this to also view tagged or categorized matters, depending on whether they're active, whether they're closed, or in fact you can even archive them. And the importance of categorizing these matters and then having a view of them is so that you're always putting your time to the most important aspects, which are all the active matters. Of course, once in a while, if you need to go back to look at a closed matter to see how you've evolved the different steps that you've taken in that matter, you can always go and search up. But the quick view, of course, gives you a list of all the matters and files that you've dealt with. It allows you to search by the individuals in that matter. It allows you to search by title, and gives you, as the term sounds, a quick view into all of the files that have been created for your firm. Search is based on free text, allows you to drill down to the matter directly. So let's say you're searching for a specific file, and we list that file. You can click on it and take you directly into the matter, especially if you want to start acting on it. There's some very interesting reports that we've also included within the quick view. And this is something that our clients have started to utilize to get a better understanding of the hygiene of their current firm. Important reports such as work in progress. The work in progress report tells you as a firm all the work that's pending, the work that's being done but not yet generated as an invoice, or work that's been planned for but not yet docketed. Okay, so let's say you plan to attend court on the 5th of March, right? It was something that you'd put on your docket a couple of weeks earlier, but it's now the 6th of March and you've not yet docketed that. So we kind of give you a perspective of all the planned effort and the actuals and indicate to you important steps that you should be taking so that you can generate those revenue. And last but not the least, we're going to talk about the calendar. Often one of the most inquired features within the uLaw product. How easy is it to integrate with my current calendar? How easy is this to integrate with my current device, my phone? So what uLaw does is we allow you to integrate our uLaw calendar system with any device, any other third-party calendar system that you may otherwise use through the use of iCal. And even further, if you do download the uLaw app, whether that's Play Store or iOS Store, we allow you to now synchronize your dockets, all of the calendar items, both docket-based and personal, right from the web browser into the app, and then further from the app to your local device, the phone that you probably have installed this in. Okay, so synchronizing events from uLaw into any third-party system, including Outlook. So if you're using Outlook for all your emails, you can synchronize the uLaw calendar with your Outlook using the use of iCal, where you basically just download all of the events that have occurred over a period of time, download it as an iCal, and import it into your Outlook. And it's automatically available. But a very recent update to our product includes this new feature set that we've included called the Scratchpad. It's much like a tickler system, if you will, but it also allows you to stay on top of all the work that you're putting together for files within this one Scratchpad. And I'm going to quickly demonstrate this feature set by end of the day, of course, through this webinar. And we've also created videos that explain it, but it's a very important Scratchpad feature that our clients have been asking for that truly allows you to work on multiple files at the same time. It allows you to put little notes on it, and it also allows you to accumulate time period docketing, which is really in intervals. So let's say you started a phone conversation for about 3 minutes, but then you go and do a little research for that same matter, a little bit of legal research. You can add that time as well. And now it becomes from 2 minutes to another, say another 6-minute research. And maybe then you did about 5 minutes of email and docketing or other tasks. You can add that incrementally in the Scratchpad. And at the end of the day, you can basically docket all of the work that you've put in directly from the Scratchpad into those matters. So instead of going into each and every matter to docket the effort, you can essentially use the Scratchpad almost as an Excel sheet with date, time, docket, effort, and be able to, in one shot, be able to start docketing across matters and from this one user interface. Okay? And of course, within the calendar, you have, once again, interesting reports such as timesheets, client summary, service summary. So if, let's say your client wants to quickly understand the work that's been done over a period of time. Let's say you want to understand, especially if you're, let's say, you're a growing legal firm, you really want to understand who within your firm are working on which client information, which matters, how much of billing are they doing in a time period. You can review all of that through reports through the calendar. And that's all we had as an agenda. Of course, it's not all we had for the webinar. It's just setting the context for what you are going to witness over the next 25 to 30 minutes is keeping in mind these 4 important feature sets about dashboard, contacts, Quickview, and calendar, and how you should start to plan to utilize these features as they complement your core legal accounting, business accounting feature sets for your firm. Okay? For those who don't know who we are and have joined us today, uLawPractice, we're a very proud Canadian company based out of Ottawa, and we serve Canadian legal practitioners through our cloud-based product, which is a legal accounting, business accounting, and a practice management software that allows you to stay compliant in a very cost-effective and cloud-enabled Canadian-hosted solution. I'm going to shift gears real quick and log into my uLaw account, and I'm utilizing my fictitious legal professional, my dear friend Roger Moore. And as you can see, as soon as I've logged into, let's assume Roger Moore is the lawyer or legal practitioner here, I've logged in as Roger Moore. And the landing page doesn't always have to be the dashboard, but it is in this case. And it's a simple setting. You can tell us as soon as you've logged in what you would like that particular dashboard to be. And once I've logged in, and you can further personalize what those individual menu options should look like. Okay? So you can see in general, the default view is set to dashboard, but then you can decide whether every time you log in, whether you land into the dashboard, whether you land into the contacts page, matters page, or calendar. The top 4 items that you would like to see as soon as you log in. And you can personalize this to your effect. And if you look at the dashboard, I have what I call as squares or widgets, WIDGETS. Each of these widgets are informational in nature. They were purpose-built for a specific item. You can scan any news that you want to specifically focus on. So whether if you want news around the Law Society of Ontario, this particular widget would scan the web for any information that's relevant across websites based on the subject of the Law Society of Ontario. By date, you can see the more recent. It goes up March 2nd, a plea to speak up to the independence of judicial appointments, Law Society, right? 4-year plan. And when you click on it, it takes you right into that website for you to quickly review it. So fast and easy way for you to stay on top of information and the latest news. And of course, the big buzzword around everything that's happening around us surrounds around the coronavirus. So if you want to stay on top of what's happening there, here's a piece of information that covers everything that you need to know about the coronavirus. Different links that talks about it, and all. It's all geographically based. This is all based on the search engine for Canada. So you click on it, it takes you to the latest and greatest. Okay? And how do you personalize this? And then you, of course, have the most recently modified matters, which is more specific to your firm. Here's the stand-in for the client Sam. You have the client information. You have a slip and fall. You've got a purchase of a house. And then let's say I click on the purchase of the house. It takes me directly into that matter itself. So if I'm actually looking to work or further docket this particular file, I've just clicked on it, and it's going to refresh here in the matter page. Of course, I do apologize. Oh, there you go. There's Steffi Jones's purchase of a house. Okay, so you could start to work right off that matter, right from the dashboard. Upcoming events, if you've either docketed a particular time and effort that you've planned for, so let's say you get into a docket and you say, my next court visit is on the 20th of March, you can plan that ahead of time by putting that as a potential docket that you're going to have for that particular file. And the reminder system here would pick it up and let you know of an upcoming event. Likewise, you can synchronize that with your phone's calendar. So there are multiple places where we allow you to stay on top of. The advantage of having it in the upcoming events really is if you've completed this telephone conversation for Adam versus Steffi, or if you've completed this client meeting for the file A155297, you can docket it by clicking on this little tick symbol, because we know that you plan for that client meeting, and by clicking this click symbol or the tick symbol, we know now that you've created that, yes, that particular work was done. Okay? I hope you were able to see this screen quickly refresh, and you don't see that particular work anymore. So if you've done this telephone work for Adam versus Steffi, you can say, yep, I've done it, completed it, and we know, and you can see on the top, it's working its way, and it's choosing the appropriate matter for which that particular event is being utilized. And it can be a docketable event, it can be a non-docketed event. This could be both personal as well as specific to your file-based event management system. And my personal favorite, and the one that's often utilized by our clients, is this particular widget called the Invoice Pending Matter. So here is a quick list of all the matters for which you've docketed effort, but we've identified that for these matters, you've not yet generated an invoice so that that effort can be reflected appropriately in that bill for you to either generate and do the trust transfers or generate that invoice and wait for a client payment. So for example, if technically you want this widget to be empty, let's say you have this stand-in for this client. It tells you that there's an invoice pending matter. So let me click on it, and it's going to take me directly to that particular matter or file. And as you can see, we've had some dockets for legal research. The client actually owes us the 1 hour worth of time for $130. It also tells you within the matter that it's invoice pending. There's only been 2 invoices on the 15th. Now with this new docket, you have the opportunity to docket them furthermore. You can go ahead, click on invoice, generate a pre-bill maybe, but just to showcase what this dashboard means to you, this is the matter screen. This is where you're all the time docketing and you're invoicing. But if you missed this invoice pending matters in the dashboard, this is what it really was meant for. It's to constantly remind you of the matters for which you've yet to docket and invoice. So now I'm going to generate this. I'm going to use the fact that the dashboard reminded me that I have to generate, or I have the opportunity rather, to generate an invoice for this matter. So I've taken that opportunity. I've said, thank you, dashboard. I recognize that I'm not yet generated an invoice. I've just gone ahead and generated that invoice for the LATB matter. And now when I go back to the dashboard, just watch this stand-in disappear. So it's basically taken that off your checklist saying, fantastic, that was one matter that you've taken care of. Now you just have to take care of the remaining. So you go through this list, fence issue, same thing, go into the matter, recognize that it needs to be invoiced, invoice it, and then move forward. Okay? So that's what the invoice pending matters is all about. Now let's say this is too crowded and you are a type of person who really wants clean information. Of course, this is over a period of time. But let's say you want to just reduce the clutter. You can go to the settings, and for each of the menu options that we have a corresponding settings tab. You can personalize this however you like. You can say, I want the range of events over a period of time. You can even determine how much of widgets you need in the entire dashboard screen. So you can say, I do not want, and just say none, and I'm not sure I really want So basically, I'm just looking for a couple of news items and just invoice pending matters. And you know what? Maybe I'll add recently modified matters as well. So I've got a news section, recently modified matters, another news section, and at the bottom I'm going to have the invoice pending matters. So when I save this, what uLaw is going to do is it now personalize this, understanding your preference that you only want 4 squares or widgets in the dashboard. It takes that, and when you go back, either log in back into uLaw or just go back into the dashboard itself, you're going to change. You're going to see the change from the 5 widget dashboard to a simple 4 widget dashboard. Okay. So it goes from the 5 to 4. So you've got the LSO, news, modified matters, pending matters. So let's say you want the news right at the top. You can basically just change this in the exact order that you want this to be. So I'm going to say I want news on coronavirus, recently modified matters, and that's it. Okay? And that's how you can personalize the dashboard based on your preference. Now within the dashboard, you can also set the similar items for your analytics. The analytics is just a better way for you to visualize the data elements of all the numbers that are being crunched within your firm, whether that's revenue, expenses, pro bono, the number of matters that you're dealing with, the number of clients that you have. There's a lot of data crunching and important data that's being analyzed for your preview and for your action. So right now you can see there are 4 corners or 4 widgets. In the settings tab of dashboard, you can also determine how much you need. How much of piece of information do you want in those analytical items? Okay. So pretty straightforward. The whole idea of dashboard is it gives you a fast, easy way for you to react upon certain things that you need to, stay on top of information that you want to, and just be more vigilant. Now we move on to another feature set within the contacts. Of course, you've often used this to add clients. Really, first step, any firm that does client intake is going into add new contact and being able to add clients. Right? This is straightforward. As part of our onboarding session, we often talk about this very specific first step. But you can also add contacts under groups, and you can also create your own set of groups. You can delete groups. So, for example, let me just discard these changes. It's asking me, all right, what group do I really want to delete? So let's say I want to delete the Megan BC clients. It's one of the 4 groups that I've created. I can go ahead and just simply delete that. Don't have that group anymore. Let's say I want to add a new group. Let's say I've just started this new line of business for intellectual property. So I want to understand so let's say for my own ease of grouping, I have a special group for all of those clients for the new line of business. And again, this is just viewing my clients. This is not viewing my matters. We have our own ways of showing you where you're making your revenue. So if you want to know where you're making your revenue, which type of matters or files are getting you the revenue, you would go into fee book by category. And for this quarter, you'll know which specific line of business is bringing you how much of revenue. Okay, so you can see 13% comes from POA, speeding, 22% comes from immigration. So you can see the spread over this quarter. But this is meant to show you just a quick view of all your clients by a specific group. For example, if I were to click on landlords, it gives me a quick list of the 6 and you can see the number, the 6 contacts that I have for my firm. And maybe David Green is a landlord that you've dealt with. So is Peter. So is David. Right at the bottom is our group for intellectual property clients. Maybe David is not only grouped, under landlords, but you can also add him to the group of intellectual property clients. You can add him to the group of witnesses. So a single contact can be part of multiple groups. Okay. So really, if you go under witnesses, you're going to see David Green right there as well. Okay. So now you have David Green under 2 different groups. You've categorized that single contact under multiple groups. And if you see that a certain group is not being utilized as much, you can delete that. Now you can merge groups. So let's say there's redundant information. You've got a POA and then you've got specific other POAs. You can merge those groups together as well. So keep in mind you can use the grouping within the contacts to make it easier for you to search information. If you don't know which group they belong to, and if you just know the name, of course, you can type it in our generic search, which is on the top right here. And let's just say I type in David. Hopefully I can type properly today. So here are all the Davids in the entire system that we know of. Multiple David Greens. There's David Chambers, David Hasselhoff. Say I'm only looking for Green. Let's say I just override this and I type in Green. There are the 4 Greens. And there's even a Green Lees. Okay, so that's the idea behind the contacts. Of course, definitely the place where you would add to the clients group, because keep in mind, only for those contacts that you group them under clients can you actually create a matter. If you go under witnesses, and let's say I go into David Green, you do not see the option to create a matter. So maybe David Green is really not a client. He's just another contact that you come across, happens to be, a landlord. Maybe it was an LATB matter and you're working with the tenant and David Green was the landlord. Makes it easier for you to do your conflict searches. But you can see there's no matter button, and that exists only for those who are clients. And you can see Anderson Cooper is a client, and he is under my witnesses group. Okay. In terms of reports, we spoke about the compliance document. Of course, in each and every menu option, you have a compliance button built right in. And the piece of information I wanted to share with you is the source of contact. And this is a very popularly used report within the uLaw product. It gives especially new entrepreneurs and anyone who's looking to do better with their marketing reporting. Allows you to capture data, but also allows you to report on the data that's been captured. So let's say over this period of the last 3 months, you want to understand, based on the client intake form, hopefully I've captured it during the client intake process by asking the right question, which is, how did you learn about us? And that's an important question that I believe every legal firm should be asking, because in today's day and context, a lot of referral is the way that we find businesses are creating newer businesses for themselves. That's from existing client referrals from the society and family and friends. In addition, of course, everyone's investing in digital marketing and ads and radio uh, advertisement, etc. But how do you know it's working for you? This is one way that you can actually understand what marketing events or what efforts are resulting in clients. So 33% based on your reporting, 33% for this quarter of clients have come through family referral. 16% came through community referral. We're saying 50% came through investment made in Facebook. Maybe they said, hey, we saw your ad on Facebook. And you can see there are about, and we also give you the detail. We tell you that out of the 20 clients that you've added in this quarter, 3 of them came from Facebook, 2 of them from family, 1 through community referral. Not a great number. But then you have 14 of them that you have not yet categorized, which means at the point in time when you did the client intake, whether it's yourself, whether it's others in the company, maybe they forgot to ask that question. Hey, how did you know about us? Maybe they were just quickly scampering to fill in basic information. Or maybe you're not even asking that. So how do you know who those 14 are? We quickly list those 14 pieces of information to you as well. So let's look at Ryan. He's a client, or even Jonathan. So on a weekend, or whenever you come across Ryan or Jonathan next, make a list, search up that information, and make sure that you're asking that person, of course, and then quickly editing that contact. So let's go to Ryan, edit this contact, give him a call, and maybe he says it's the Facebook ad. Maybe that's what's working. Make sure you add that information. And progressively, this is going to help build better data for your business. So quickly, if I were to rerun that report one more time, you're going to notice the difference between this report, the percentages, and the new report that we're going to generate. Suddenly you see the percentage went up from 50% to 57%. The number of not categorized dropped down from 14 to 13, and you don't see Ryan on this list. Okay? So you can see how every feature set, every menu option within the uLaw product is very cohesive and is extending and surrounding every other feature set within the product. Other important reports include client ID verification. You can even generate the client fee book if you want to understand how much of money Ryan owes us. In a quick snapshot, you can look at uLaw Insight. It tells you right away it's been completed, but the client owes us $282. That was the total invoice. He's not yet paid you. So having this piece of information allows you to have a better conversation with Ryan. You don't even have to go into his matter, none of that. Basically just even clicking on this question mark and just clicking on the uLaw Insight. If you want a bigger snapshot, you can click on details, and this is going to tell you all the information you need. Okay? And now for the Quickview. Of course, in uLaw, you can go to individual matters. You can go to the matters page, search up by a specific matter, or search up by a specific client. But if you want a quick snapshot of all the matters that you've been working on over a certain period of time, or based on a status, as I mentioned earlier, then you're going to have to look at the Quickview. Gives you a fantastic view of all the matters that you've created by status. So you can have the active matters, closed, archived. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also use free text to search any information that you may know. So let's say I know that there's this Ryan Gorge. So I'm just going to say, I don't know much, but I just remember the last name. So I can basically type in, and there it is. It could be Greg because of the word combination. If I only know, let's say, I type in Ryan. That's bringing, of course, a lot of the information. Oh, there you go. There you go. Typed in Gorge. There's Ryan. And now you can click on the title, and you can go right into that matter itself, right from the Quickview. So search up that information and go right into the matter. If you're looking for a specific matter that's not active, so let's just go to this Ryan Gorge matter, and let's say we mark this particular matter as closed. So I'm going to say, let's say all the work is done. It's always a great habit if you can actually mark this as closed once the work is done. I'm just going to say this matter is closed. Of course, I wouldn't have done it. I would have ensured I've got the payment, or I would have refunded any payments outstanding, accepted it, or written off the money, and then I would have closed it. But for purposes of time, I'm doing this. Now, if I type in Ryan along with active, I'm not going to find it there. So, but if I search up closed, it's going to bring up all the matters that I've marked as closed within uLaw, including the Ryan Gorge matter that I created on Jan 14th. It also tells me when I closed it. I closed it on the 6th of March. So if I were to click on the last modified and just sort it by date, here are the most recent ones that I've closed. Okay. Same thing goes for the active matters. You can sort this by date. You can sort this by first name, last name of the client. You can sort this by the title. You can sort this by client, or you can even sort this by last modified. Okay? And we spoke about the report. So in each and every menu option, you have this document generation feature that allows you to generate reports and other documents. Now here's an important three pieces of documents. One is just printing all of your active matters. You can do all matters, or you can even say for the week of February, or maybe for the entire month of February. Okay. Generate all of the active matters that I've created between the 1st of Feb till the 28th of Feb. And this is a Law Society requirement as well. The auditor may actually ask you to produce this document, and voila, you can produce that by clicking on the right button. So print within the Quickview allows you to generate this report that gives you all the active matters that were created in the month of February, by date, by file number, client status, even the last modified. But if you want to understand the work in progress, so for this month, give me all the matters that I can potentially docket. So you can see clearly that for this particular matter, slip and fall, there's 10 minutes that have been docketed, but not yet billed. So for 209661 or 611, So let me go into Quickview, 209611. I'm using the feature of being able to search by free text. And there it is. Slip and fall. I go right into that matter. I can clearly see here that there's 10 minutes of work that's been put in, or planned for that I've not docketed, and then I can go ahead, docket that, generate the invoice. Okay, so the work in progress is a fantastic report that tells you all the work that needs to be complete, work that's been done needs to be docketed. And then of course we have invoice pending matters that says work that needs to be has been docketed but not yet been invoiced. So chronologically it takes you through every step of the way to be efficient towards making that revenue. Okay. So quick view, print work in progress, and we even have a work in progress for any disbursements. That, of course, very important for you to be able to recover disbursements. Again, for the date range. And last, for the calendar, of course, you have the traditional calendar view of the month. You have it for the specific week, for subsequent weeks. You can do it for a specific day. And you can also color code it based on which individual legal professional has been doing this. And you can see all these are docketed items. You can very simply hide time dockets, just giving you a view of any personal work that you want to look at. So you have time scheduled to do your reconciliation, which is again personal time. It's got nothing to do with dockets or nothing to do with clients or matters. So with the quick filter here of show time dockets and hide time dockets, it gives you the perspective that you need. And you can schedule filters for yourself. So let's say you're a firm, you can really have a view of all other legal professionals that you're partnering with, including co-workers, assistants that you may be working with. And you can actually have, within the calendar, different color code settings for the different types of roles that you have within your firm. Okay? You can change your time format. You can decide what your default time slot length is within the calendar and what your default view is. Now, if you go into the action button, I'm going to get into the scratch pad in a minute. This is where you can actually generate all of the reports. And we have a specific webinar that focuses on the feature set of calendar. And we'll make sure we link this at the end of today's webinar. But all of the time-based reports that you need for your firm are grouped under the calendar, including the timesheet and the revenue generation report based on individuals in the firm, as well as timesheets and revenue based on clients that you've had an intake. So how I got into the action button is I went into calendar, and next to the calendar you see this arrow. I've clicked on this little arrow, and then you see the action button here, and I click on, so let me annotate this. So if you can, oh, there you go. So I'm going to just quickly annotate. Let me close. So next to the calendar, you see the drop-down arrow. Click on it. And then I see the action. I click on the action button, and here are all my options. So quickly, if I were to do a revenue by employee, I'll do it again for this quarter. It generates the report. And the beauty of the cloud is you can always do parallel processing. So as that report is being generated, you can go ahead and do the next set of actions that you need. Now, I can import time dockets as well. So let's say you have a habit of a CSV file, and you're putting all your efforts into that. You can just import that entire file as a CSV of all the work you've done right into uLaw. And here's the revenue report for this quarter. Tells you by employee. In this case, it's just Roger Moore. By date. And you can see, because this firm only has Mr. Roger Moore, he's contributed almost $8,425 for this quarter, and his billed almost. You can see the billable hours are more than the estimated, which is good. There's about 4 hours of extra billable time for this quarter that you've accomplished. Okay. And in fact, you've had some assistant time put in as well. About 30 minutes of estimated time, but then the actual billable time is 1 hour and 24 minutes, which is fantastic. Now for this very new feature within uLaw called Scratchpad, which is under the calendar. You can see it right here with another 5 minutes remaining. So I'm going to just click on the Scratchpad for daily dockets. So this is inspired, of course, based on the tickler system. This is inspired based on a lot of our clients' convenience and ease of use with, let's say, an Excel sheet or a spreadsheet software. So we're trying to mimic that spreadsheet software every step of the way if it's easier for you to do data entry. So it really is a convenient data entry screen. So you can add, by default, it gives you this one row. You can add further rows if you like. You can add 5 more rows. There it is. And what you can do specifically with this Scratchpad, as we're calling it, is let's say that today in the morning, and of course this is meant for today. Again, it changes day after day. So the idea behind the Scratchpad is you start this day, first thing in the morning, you've had little tasks to do. You really don't know, you know who it's for, but you don't have the time to go into that matter and docket it there. You just did something and you want to be able to quickly write it down. So you could say, all right, I go ahead and say note taking and visiting of court for funding. Okay, I'm just putting that in. That's it. And I just close it. And then I continue my tasks. I do other things in the matter. I go another client intake, another discussion, all of that. But then I come back into my calendar and I go back to my Scratchpad. I notice, of course, that piece of information still exists. Okay? So that little note for that particular day still remains for me to append, modify, and take action on. So I can come back here and say, I'm going to be docketing 30 minutes. I spent 24 minutes, but I'm rounding it to 30 minutes. And I'm actually going to add a new event, and this is automatically saying, okay, who is this going to? And you can say, yes, this is going to Mr. Alex Bunny. Done. You basically just did a little scratch pad in the morning and you came back in the afternoon to do it. Let's say you're doing another little phone conversation with the client. You can use the same scratch pad concept. You can basically type in, let's say, doing legal research. And you can basically use the tab. We're totally like the Excel sheet or spreadsheet software. You can use the backslash tab or tab to go along. And you can use this stop clock that you see here and actually go about your research. So let's say I'm researching about the coronavirus. I'm actually doing some reading. I'm doing further work. I can go back to uLaw this time, pause it. Let's say I spent 12 minutes. I can close out of here, do some other things. And then let's say I'm going back into my research. I go back into my scratch pad and it's still there. I want to add further time into that same effort that I'm putting in. I'll start that time clock again for that same scratch pad event and do further work. Right? So I'm going to do more research. I'm going to do further work. Watch a video maybe. And then go back. The clock still is running.
Caring for our cows.
Oh, of course.
It's a big part of what we do.
Sure. I'll pause. I'll now this time add 18 minutes. And now you're going to notice that the overall time went from 12 minutes to the added 18 minutes. So it's accumulation of all the work that I've done for the day for that specific docket. Likewise, I can do phone conversations. If you're not using the phone app, of course, if you're using the phone app, you can make the phone call and docket. But if you're not, you can use this as a simple way to docket effort for multiple matters. And then, end of the day, you could tell us which effort goes to what matter. So maybe the legal research went, you can search up the client right here. You can say maybe it was for Amr. So you basically just, all you do. You've already done the effort of telling us what you've done. And of course, if you made a mistake, you can correct it. You can unlock this event. So let's say you've already added the docket. You can change it at the docket level. You can unlock this. Okay. I just clicked on this lock button to unlock it. I can change this phone conversation to 45 minutes. I can go in that specific matter. And I can go about my day. Now this is for a specific day. And keep in mind as we indicate to you that this is maintained within the browser memory, which means that if you log out of uLaw, then this temporary placeholder of all the scratch pad is lost. So if you tear off that page and throw it away, that's as good as signing out. You don't have that scratch pad information anymore. But as long as you're logged in into uLaw, you're still going to be able to retain that information. So if I now go into Amr's matter, I'm going to be able to see that particular docket that I just did for 30 minutes. Okay? So the scratch pad is just another easier way for you to do data entry, but be able to do it across matters within a single day. Okay? Because the other alternative before the scratch pad was to be able to go in, take notes on a piece of paper, and then come into uLaw, go into each of those matters individually, and then put the effort in. Rather, we're now introducing the scratch pad feature, which allows you to take that notes right within uLaw and use it right within uLaw, where you don't have to then copy-paste what you've done from an Excel sheet or paper into uLaw. You can see legal research already there. All you have to do is come in and invoice. Okay? So under calendar, this new feature called Scratchpad. And once you're done, you can clear all the daily dockets, and you can say, yep, I'm done for the day, and you start a brand new day the next day. Hope that made sense, but we're definitely evolving this feature as we start getting feedback from our clients, but we're hoping that this helps us facilitate a faster data entry for you, making it easier. Of course, if you have feedback on this feature, let us know, and we're going to try and improve upon it. But this is one step closer to making that data entry across multiple matters more efficient and easier. So with that, being conscious of time, I want to wrap up today's webinar, which is really about the unsung heroes. Again, not a credit for CPD. We do have our CPDs coming up further in the month. But today's webinar was specifically focused on these 4 major feature sets that we have, which are Dashboard, Contacts, Quickview, and Calendar. Also introducing you to some of the new features within the calendar called Scratchpad. This entire webinar is being recorded, will be available for you to review it on our YouTube channel. Please do subscribe to it so that every time we add a new video, you automatically get notified of it. It's youtube.com/uLawPractice. And I thank everyone who joined me today. And have yourself a fantastic weekend. I look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Thank you.